white privilege as an argument in policy debates.
But an exchange that took place on the radio yesterday between host David Webb and legal analyst Areva Martin was pretty embarrassing for her.
That's a whole nother long conversation about white privilege and things that you have the privilege of doing that people of color don't have the privilege of.
How do I have the privilege of white privilege?
David, by virtue of being a white male, you have white privilege.
Areva, I hate to break it to you, but you should have been better prepped. I'm black.
Okay.
Boom.
David Webb joins us, the host of Fox Nation's Reality Check. David, when she said that to you, obviously you were not face-to-face?
No, we were not. We were on the radio, which is what obviously makes this really interesting to me. That forget tone, voice, being prepped, as I said to her, she immediately defaulted to an attack, which is a false narrative. There is no such thing as white privilege. There's earned privilege in life that you work for. There are those who may have a form of privilege that they exert on others in a form of influence. But this is about more than just what she said and the embarrassment, and she should be, but the default to this easy false narrative.
What went through your mind when she said that? Your comeback was pretty quick. And what did she say after she learned that you were black?
Well, she apologized. She, you're caught. What do you do? So she apologized. But in that apology, she throws her team under the bus. And first of all, I have never done, her producers, I have never done that to anyone that's ever worked on any of my shows on radio or television. I would never do that. So frankly, they should consider why they're being thrown away. But I have a question. Who gives you the wrong information that I'm white to come on my radio show? Think about that for a minute.
What did she say her team? What was the bad information?
They gave her the wrong information. So
what does that mean?
Well, that's my question. How do you give someone the wrong information about my skin color? But, I also went into something, and I want people to understand this. There's a serious conversation to be taken from this. As I've said before, our skin is an organ. It doesn't think, it doesn't formulate ideas. Let's look at it that way and go back to the ideas in our head, the ideas in our mind, and the things we need to discuss.
So here's the thing. Let's look at the whole issue in particular. You had a set of beliefs that she just assumed made you white because you believe what?
Because I was talking about law and process and due process. To be fair, we had a long conversation, probably about 12 minutes or so, going into this portion of my interview with her. And it was a fair exchange of ideas. We were talking about issues where we agree, disagree. We're talking about proof, all things that relate to that. And then we got into the story of media coverage, the CBS coverage team that was tweeted out by AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They're being attacked because of color. And that's how we came around to this. Then I talked about qualifications. I'd been through different genres in radio, as you guys know, rock, urban, hip hop, you name it. And I've been through different genres in talk. And it was because I did the work, and that's why I made the qualification statement. But being on Patriot Radio with me and being on a conservative talk station, well, I must have been white. It was in her head. But I go back to, who gives you the wrong information about my skin color?
I think that was just her response. She was just caught. I don't think her producers tell her. I would imagine they're not telling her what color skin the person
Well, I
who's
don't
interviewing
look for color, but if I'm being interviewed, and we started here at some point together, right, what do? I go and I look and I go, who am I talking to? What do I know about him? Brian does radio. Well, you and I have known each other a long time, before you were even on this couch. Same thing, Steve. So what do? You look up who you're interviewing, a lawyer, an attorney. You don't go for color, but you go for information.
Clearly, she made a gigantic mistake, and she has apologized. Have you accepted the apology?
It wasn't about accepting or not accepting. She got caught. What I hope people take away from it, because I have no reason to diss her, and I did invite her back, by the way. I said at the interview, let's come back and have a longer conversation about white privilege as you see it. So that invitation is out there, and hopefully we can take from this and the media firestorm, that's what happens, and get into that discussion.
There's definitely a lesson that we can learn here. We can be better people and not make stereotypes and assumptions based on someone's beliefs or how they vote. But if this were happening, if the shoe were on the other foot, if you had done this to her, if a conservative had done this to a liberal, what would be the reaction?
It would be calls for firing. They would be pressuring advertisers. The machine on the left would have gone into full-blown action. They would have demanded that I be thrown off Fox, that I be thrown off Sirius XM Patriot, that I be out of the media and out of the world. And that's a problem, because even though I don't agree with her, I invited her back. I want to have the debate, because the debate lets us expose the ideas and let people decide for themselves. Like I said, our skin's an organ, right? It doesn't think. It doesn't formulate ideas. It just says this is the result of your parentage.
We'll watch you more on Fox Nation and listen to you more on the radio.
And I always watch you guys in the morning when I'm prepping. So you're part of my prep.
All right, good job.
All right. Well, here's a pretty amazing video. Actually, it looks fake, but I don't think it is. And it does tell you everything about the modern left. David Webb is a radio host and a Fox contributor, a very good guy, by the way. He recently hosted a CNN analyst called Irva Martin on his show and made an argument that she didn't agree with. So how did she respond? Well, you know how she responded. She immediately attacked him for his skin color. But it didn't go the way she expected. Listen to this.
That's a whole nother long conversation about white privilege and things that you have the privilege of doing that people of color don't have the privilege of.
How do I have the privilege of white privilege?
David, by virtue of being a white male, you have white privilege. This whole long conversation, I don't have time to get into.
Ariva, I hate to break it to you, but you should have been better prepped. I'm black.
It's just so great. But hopefully we can stop laughing long enough to pause and think a little bit, and Martin should think a little bit and realize that people must be evaluated as individuals and not as a member of a racial group. That is poison. It's a cul-de-sac. It destroys your soul and it destroys the country. We used to know that, but given the current psychosis gripping the left, we're not optimistic people will realize, but someday they will.
Webb, I know that we've known each other for years, and we were on Sirius XM together and everything. I did not know until that moment that you were black. So I'm just finding this all out right now. So this is totally shocking to me. There's so many layers of stupidity in what just happened there, but it's not just stupidity. This is the new pernicious racism of the left that is actually far more systemic and dangerous than any racism that is coming out of the right. Yes, are there a couple KKK members and some Westboro Baptist Church members or something that have no power and that are irrelevant, that the media keeps propping up to imply that all conservatives are racist? Yes, there's a tiny number of those people. This type of thought process that Ariva is illustrating there, and I want to be very clear, I've had Ariva on my show years ago. I've done a few things with her over the years. She's a perfectly fine person as far as I know. But this lazy way of thinking, I mean, even when she said in the interview there, she said, my people gave me the wrong information. What does that possibly mean? Does she mean to say, I mean, she threw her people?
You and I have interviewed so many people from different backgrounds over the years, even each other. Who looks up race as part of the interview? You may look up information. Who's David Webb? Who's Dave Rubin? What did they write? What did they say about a topic? Oh, and incidentally, Dave's black and the other Dave's white, or David's black and white. I don't know. Maybe you and I are the new interchangeable, white privilege crowd.
I guess so.
That's what it is.
My people gave me the wrong information, as if a piece of paper was slid across her desk and it said David Webb is white. Whoops, we got a typo there. I mean, that's number one. Number two, though, her apology to you really was a non-apology. And I know you don't want an apology in a sort of traditional sense. What you're offering her is a conversation, and I do hope that she'll take you up on it. And if you need someone to moderate it, you guys are both welcome in my studio, of course, as well. But the point here is that she believes, and this is becoming mainstream thought on the progressive left, which is permeating throughout academia and permeating throughout the media, that if you are black, or if you are gay, or if you are Muslim, or any sort of minority, if you're a woman, even though women actually aren't a minority, but if you're anything that's outside of straight white Christian male, that you should think a certain way. This is prejudice.